When a billionaire is forced by his mother to choose a bride from 8 wealthy, glamorous women, everyone expects a society-approved match. Instead, he shocks the entire room by choosing the brand-new housekeeper, a woman who has no interest in his fortune, no patience for his family's games, and no idea what she's about to get herself into. Leonard Smith III didn't look like a man worth $1.2 billion. For one, he was wearing a faded hoodie with a coffee stain the size of Nebraska on the front. For another, his hair looked like it had been styled by a very enthusiastic blender. At 38, Leo was the reluctant golden boy of the Smith luxury group, a multi-generational empire of high-end hotels, luxury real estate, and whatever else rich people invested in to get richer. His mother, Veronica Smith, liked to tell reporters, "Our family doesn't chase money. We attract it," which, to be fair, was true, though Leo would argue that she attracted it, while he spent most of his adult life trying to avoid it. Right now, he was trying to avoid something far more terrifying than the quarterly board meeting: his mother's tone. It was that tone she got when she was about to introduce a problem disguised as an opportunity. She stood in the sunroom, framed by floor-to-ceiling windows and an aggressive number of potted orchids, holding a glass of imported Icelandic water like it was champagne. "Leo, darling," she began, dragging out the darling like a cat stretching over a warm laptop. "We need to talk about your personal life." He knew exactly where this was going. "If this is about me still being single, it is about you still being single," she snapped, eyes wide in mock surprise. "Do you expect the Smith legacy to end with you? Shall the family fortune pass to, oh, I don't know, your dog?" Max, the family's golden retriever, perked up from his position on the chaise lounge at the sound of his name. He had a tennis ball in his mouth and a look that said, "I could run this empire better than you, buddy." Leo smirked. "I mean, Max is responsible. He's never overdrawn a bank account." "This isn't funny," Veronica said, stabbing the air with her manicured finger, each nail a glossy, lacquered weapon. "You're almost 40. Do you know what that means? That you've been asking me to get married for 20 years? That it's high time I step in and fix this mess," she corrected. "Your father agrees." From behind a copy of the Financial Gazette, Mr. Smith grunted. This was their marriage dynamic," Veronica declared, and Mr. Smith mumbled vague affirmations while reading about stock performance. "Leo, I have taken it upon myself," she continued, "to streamline the process." "Streamline the process?" he repeated slowly, like she'd just announced she was launching him into space. "Yes," she said with a satisfied smile. "I have selected 8, and I do mean 8, highly eligible young women from the most distinguished families. They are intelligent, beautiful, well-bred, and perfectly capable of running a household and a philanthropic foundation." "Wow," Leo said dryly. "A buffet of trophy wives." "This Saturday," Veronica pressed on, ignoring him, "they will be coming here for a casual tea." Casual. From his mother, that meant caviar, live string quartet, and napkins folded into swans. Leo leaned back in his chair, rubbing his forehead. "And what am I supposed to do? Meet them? Talk to them? Choose one to marry?" He laughed. He actually laughed, a short, sharp bark of disbelief. "You're joking." Veronica tilted her chin up. "Does this face look like it's joking?" Max barked once. Leo looked at him. "No, you're right, she's deadly serious." "Darling, this is not about you," Veronica went on, pacing the marble floor like a general plotting a military offensive. "This is about the Smith name, the Smith future." Leo glanced toward his father for backup. Mr. Smith finally looked up from his paper and shrugged. "Your mother's got a point. Can't hurt to meet them." "Can't hurt?" "It sounds like a hostage negotiation," Leo muttered. Veronica clasped her hands dramatically. "I just want you to be happy, Leo." Translation, he said. "You just want me to be married." "Exactly," she said brightly, missing the sarcasm entirely. "So it's settled. Saturday, 3 o'clock. Wear something that doesn't look like you lost a fight with a laundromat." And with that, she swept out of the sunroom, orchids trembling in her wake. Leo sat in silence for a moment, Max resting his head on his knee. "Well, buddy," he sighed. "Looks like we're about to star in my mother's version of The Bachelor." Max wagged his tail. Leo reached for his coffee, grimaced at the cold sip, and thought, "There's no way this ends well." Saturday arrived with the kind of dramatic tension usually reserved for royal weddings and asteroid impacts. The Smith mansion was in full Veronica mode. Every chandelier sparkled like it had been personally polished by angels. The air smelled faintly of roses, champagne, and fear. A catering team buzzed through the main hall, setting up silver trays of hors d'oeuvres so delicate they looked like they'd been carved with surgical tools. In the background, a live string quartet tuned their instruments. Leo stood at the top of the grand staircase, wearing the kind of tailored suit that said, "My mother picked this out while I wasn't looking." He glanced down at the gold watch on his wrist. "It's 2:59. I've got 30 seconds to run out the back door." Max the golden retriever wagged his tail at the idea. "Don't you dare," came Veronica's voice from below, sharp as a whip. She was in an emerald green dress, dripping in diamonds, with the air of a queen about to present her heir to the realm. Before Leo could reply, the front door opened, and the first arrival swept in like a weather event. Tiffany Van Doren. She was tall, blonde, and wearing sunglasses so oversized they could double as windshields. "Oh my God, Veronica," she gushed, air-kissing the matriarch. "This house is like beyond." Leo shook her hand. "Hi, I know who you are," she said, snapping a selfie with him before he could finish. "Say cheese, #future husband." Chantal Beaumont arrived next, her designer heels clicking like gunshots on the marble. "Sorry I'm late. My driver got lost in the south wing of my house." Leo blinked. "Your house has wings?" "4, she said matter-of-factly, flipping her hair. "You'll see when we visit." Genevieve more swept in, wearing an ivory suit so crisp it could cut glass. She shook Leo's hand like she was sealing a multi-million-dollar merger. "I speak 6 languages," she announced, apropos of nothing. Leo nodded. "Great. I speak English and sarcasm." Kylie Williams arrived live-streaming on her phone. "Hey followers, I'm at this super exclusive meet and greet. Say hi, Leo." "Hi, Internet." Leo waved awkwardly. "Oh my God, you're so natural," Kylie squealed, without looking up from the camera. Sabrina Hartz glided in wearing a crimson dress that probably came with its own security detail. "I run a foundation for endangered flamingos," she told Leo, placing a manicured hand on his arm. "That's oddly specific," he said. "They're the models of the bird world," she replied, deadly serious. Priscilla Baker strode in with a posture so perfect she could balance a champagne flute on her head. "I compete in equestrian events," she informed Leo. "Do you ride?" "Only elevators," he said. Vivienne LaCroix made an entrance by actually singing her own name in operatic style. "Eighth Vivienne LaCroix," she trilled, hands in the air. Leo, startled, clapped politely. "Nice to meet you, and hear you." Arabella Sinclair appeared last, carrying a massive canvas and a paintbrush. "I feel compelled to capture your aura before introductions," she murmured, already dabbing paint. Leo tried to peek. "Is my aura supposed to be neon pink?" Arabella nodded solemnly. "Yours is screaming." Within 15 minutes, the grand hall had turned into a fashion show colliding with a networking event. Tiffany was taking selfies by the staircase. Kylie was narrating the hors d'oeuvres tray to her followers. Priscilla had cornered Mr. Smith about horse breeding. Vivian was harmonizing with the string quartet. Leo stood in the middle of it all, glass of champagne in hand, feeling like a contestant on a dating show he hadn't signed up for. His mother swept past, whispering in his ear, "Smile, for God's sake. And don't slouch. These women are pedigree." "Mom," he muttered, "you do realize this feels like a livestock auction, right?" She ignored him, gliding away to introduce Sabrina to Genevieve, who immediately began speaking in French for no discernible reason. Leo was just about to retreat to the kitchen for some peace, and possibly a sanity-preserving snack, when the faint sound of a vacuum cleaner caught his attention. And that was the moment everything changed. Leo wasn't a coward. He had faced down hostile shareholders, survived dinners with his mother's friends, also known as the Botox Brigade, and once flown in a helicopter piloted by a man named Randy who had a suspicious number of accidental landings on his record. But 8 women in one room, all trying to be the future Mrs. Smith? That was too much. Which is why, halfway through Chantel's 15-minute explanation of why her yacht collection was more tasteful than the Williams family's yacht collection, Leo quietly set down his champagne flute, nodded like he cared, and slipped toward the kitchen. The sounds of the party, the clinking glasses, the chatter, Vivian doing an unsolicited operatic rendition of Shallow, faded into the background. Instead, he heard a fight, a mechanical whine, a muffled curse, and the unmistakable thunk-thunk-thunk of something smacking against the floor. He stepped into the kitchen and saw her. A young woman in jeans, a faded NASA t-shirt, and sneakers was locked in mortal combat with a vintage industrial vacuum cleaner. One hand gripped the hose like a fireman holding a live hydrant. The other was trying to yank the power cord from under a metal cart. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun, though a few rebellious strands had escaped. "Need help?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. Without looking up, she said, "No, but if you know a priest, I think this vacuum is possessed." Leo grinned. "What's it doing?" "Speaking in tongues." "It's doing that thing where it sucks and doesn't suck at the same time," she said, finally looking at him. "Like every politician I've ever met." Leo laughed. It wasn't the polite, strained chuckle he'd been giving in the main hall. It was genuine, unguarded, the kind of laugh that surprised him. "You new here?" he asked. "Second day," she said, crouching to untangle the cord from a chair leg. "Tiana Marcus. Housekeeping." She straightened, brushing her hands on her jeans. "And you are?" He hesitated. No one ever asked him that without already knowing. "Leo. Leo the kitchen guy? Maintenance? You've got that, I can fix the Wi-Fi look." "Something like that," he said, amused. Tiana bent to open the vacuum's dust bag, then froze. "Oh wow. That's a crime scene." Leo peered over her shoulder. "Is that a Lego piece?" "Yes. And a penny from 1998. And, is that a raisin or a bug?" She glanced at him. "If I die from vacuum plague, please tell my mother I went doing what I loved." "You love vacuuming?" "No. I love having a job." He watched as she wrangled the machine into grudging obedience and flipped the switch. The motor roared to life, loud enough to drown out whatever Vivian was screeching in the hall. "So," Tiana said, raising her voice over the noise, "what's with all the perfume clouds and stilettos out there? Feels like a runway show for Bond villains." Leo smirked. "It's an event my mother's hosting." "Oh, what's the occasion?" "She's trying to get me married." Tiana laughed. "Wow, that's old school." She invited 8 candidates. Tiana blinked. "Like a job interview?" "Exactly like a job interview." "And you're okay with that?" "Not remotely." The vacuum sputtered and died again, as if in protest. Tiana groaned. "Figures. Story of my life." She grabbed a screwdriver from a nearby drawer and crouched again. "If you're looking for wife material, you might want to start with someone who can fix a vacuum. It's a very underrated skill." Leo tilted his head. "Duly noted." They stayed like that for a moment, her tinkering with the vacuum, him leaning casually against the counter, until a sharp voice cut through the kitchen. "Leo, there you are." It was Veronica, standing in the doorway, eyebrows arched. She glanced at Tiana like she was a dust speck on the marble. "What on earth are you doing in here?" Leo smiled. "Making conversation." "With the help?" she said, aghast. Tiana straightened, screwdriver still in hand, eyes narrowing. "You could just say housekeeper." Veronica ignored her and turned to Leo. "They're all waiting for you. Tiffany's been practicing her flute solo." Leo groaned. "That's my cue to stay here." Veronica's tone went arctic. "Now." Tiana shrugged and returned to the vacuum. "Go on. Your adoring public awaits." Leo lingered a second longer than necessary, then followed his mother out, but not without glancing back at Tiana. Something about her, in that messy bun and grease-smudged t-shirt, felt like the only real thing in the entire house. The moment had arrived. The women had been herded, yes, herded, into the grand hall, seated in a glittering semicircle of Louis XVI chairs arranged like a royal court. The chandeliers blazed overhead. The string quartet had been replaced by a single harpist playing something suspiciously like the theme from The Bachelor. Veronica Smith stood at the center like a game show host who had forgotten her cue cards. "Ladies," she began, her voice rich with triumph, "and my darling Leo, the time has come." Leo stood beside her, looking like a condemned man who had been given a very nice suit for his execution. His tie was slightly crooked, which Veronica had noticed and resented, but she was too focused on the ceremony to fix it. Each woman perched forward slightly in her seat, perfect posture, perfect smile, perfect calculation. Tiffany's eyes sparkled like she was about to win a crown. Kylie subtly angled her phone to capture Leo's big decision for her followers. Genevieve sat like she was defending her PhD thesis. Leo cleared his throat. "I want to thank all of you for coming today." "Oh, you're welcome," Chantel interrupted, flashing her most dazzling yacht deck smile. "And I appreciate the time we've spent together," Leo continued, ignoring her. "But I've already made my choice." An electric ripple ran through the room. Veronica's hands clasped together in anticipation. Even Mr. Smith looked up from his phone. Leo glanced toward the back of the room. "Tiana." There was a pause, and then the quiet whip of a feather duster. Every head turned. Tiana was standing in the doorway with a cleaning caddy, wearing the same jeans and NASA t-shirt, looking very much like someone who had walked into the wrong scene. Her expression was halfway between confusion and, "I am not paid enough for this." "Me?" she asked. "Yes," Leo said simply. "You." The reaction was instantaneous. Tiffany's mouth dropped open like a malfunctioning animatronic. Chantel let out a strangled laugh. Sabrina blinked furiously, as if trying to clear dust from her eyes. Kylie whispered into her phone, "Oh my God, guys, plot twist," before realizing her followers were already losing their minds in the comments. Veronica's smile froze, her eyes darting between her son and the feather duster-wielding girl. "Leo," she said in a voice that could freeze champagne, "what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about who I want," Leo said. "Tiana." Tiana shook her head. No. I think you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm here for the dust bunnies, not the marriage proposals." Priscilla scoffed. "She's staff." "That's right," Tiana said, still gripping the duster. "And proud of it. We're the reason this place doesn't smell like wet money." Vivian gasped like she'd just been slapped with a baguette. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm serious," Leo said. "Tiana's the only person in this house who's ever talked to me like I'm just me." Genevieve crossed her legs, her diamond bracelet catching the light like a warning flare. "And you're basing your future on that?" "Better than basing it on the size of someone's yacht," Leo shot back. The harpist, sensing drama, kept playing, though now it sounded faintly like the soundtrack to a sword duel. Tiana, still rooted to the doorway, looked at Leo like he'd just announced he was joining the circus. "Look, I don't know what game this is, but I'm not in it." "It's not a game," Leo said, softer now. "I mean it." The silence stretched. Then Tiffany stood abruptly, her sequined dress glittering in the light. "Well," she said sharply, "this has been enlightening." She grabbed her designer clutch and stormed toward the door. One by one, the others followed. Chantel muttered something about standards. Kylie kept live streaming. Vivian hummed an angry note under her breath. Veronica watched them go, torn between chasing after them and strangling her son on the spot. When the last stiletto heel clicked out of sight, she turned back to Leo, her voice dangerously calm. "Explain." "Now." Leo smiled faintly. "I already did." Tiana dropped her duster into the caddy. "Right. Well, this has been weird. I'm going to go clean literally anywhere else." She disappeared into the corridor, leaving Veronica fuming, Mr. Smith sipping his drink, and Leo feeling oddly satisfied, as though, for the first time all day, something had gone exactly the way he wanted. Dinner that evening was the kind of tense where even the silverware looked uncomfortable. The Smiths' dining room could seat 24, but tonight there were only 4 people at the massive table. Leo, his mother Veronica, his father Charles, and awkwardly Tiana, who had been invited without any explanation. By invited, of course Leo meant summoned. The table was set like a royal banquet, gold-rimmed china, crystal glasses, candles so tall they could double as defensive weapons. Between them sat a roast duck glazed to perfection and surrounded by side dishes that looked like they belonged in a Michelin-starred gallery. Tiana sat stiffly, wearing a borrowed cardigan from another housekeeper because her work shirt still had a streak of dust down the front. She'd been given a seat next to Leo, close enough for comfort, but also close enough for interrogation. "So," Veronica began, her smile stretched so tight it could snap at any moment. "Leo tells us you're the new housekeeper." Tiana stabbed her fork into her salad. "That's right. And how interesting that must be for you. Cleaning such a large house." "It's a lot of square footage," Tiana said, chewing. "But at least no one's left a pizza slice under the couch yet. Happened at my last job. Twice." Veronica blinked, visibly suppressing a shudder. Charles Smith cleared his throat. "Tiana, is it?" "Yes, sir." He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Tell me, what exactly are your long-term aspirations?" Tiana hesitated. "Long-term, I'd like to not be broke." Leo snorted into his wine. Veronica's eyes narrowed to laser points. "And you think marrying into our family would help with that?" Tiana set her fork down. "Whoa, hold on. I never said anything about marrying anyone. Your son is the one who made that announcement, not me." "Announcement?" Charles repeated, turning to Leo. Leo shrugged. "I like her." "Leo," Veronica said in the kind of voice that usually preceded hurricanes, "you had 8 perfectly suitable women to choose from, all from families of means, culture, and breeding. And you pick." She gestured vaguely toward Tiana like she was gesturing toward a mop. "This." Tiana crossed her arms. "You can just say me. I'm right here." Veronica pressed on. "This isn't about feelings. This is about the future of the Smith name, about stability, appearances, the legacy." Leo cut her off. "Mom, the only legacy I care about is not spending the rest of my life with someone who talks about themselves in the third person on Instagram." "That was one time." Veronica snapped before realizing she'd just admitted to it. Tiana blinked. "Wait, you talk about yourself in the third person on Instagram." Veronica ignored her. "Charles, do something." Charles sighed, pushing his plate away. "Son, you can't just spring something like this on us. People talk. The press will." "I don't care what the press says," Leo replied. Tiana held up a hand. "For the record, I'm not even sure I like you yet." Leo turned to her, mock-offended. "Rude. You dropped a life-changing statement on me while I was holding a feather duster," Tiana said. "That's not exactly romantic." "I thought it was memorable," Leo countered. "It was," she admitted. "But so is a car accident." Charles almost choked on his wine. Veronica looked like she'd bitten into a lemon. "Tiana," Veronica said sweetly, too sweetly, "I'm sure you're a lovely girl in your own way. But surely you understand how mismatched this is." Tiana met her gaze evenly. "Lady, the only mismatch I see is between what you think your son wants and what he actually wants." For a moment, the only sound in the room was the faint crackle of the candles. Then Leo grinned. "Told you she's honest." Veronica's fork clattered onto her plate. "This conversation is over." She stood, her emerald earrings catching the light. "Charles, come." Charles rose, giving Leo a look that was equal parts pity and good luck with that. And just like that, they were gone, the heavy dining room doors swinging shut behind them. Tiana exhaled, setting her fork down. "Well, that was fun." Leo leaned back in his chair. "They'll come around. Eventually." Tiana gave him a look. "You're insane." "Probably," he said, smiling. "But you're still here." Tiana hesitated, then stole a bite of his dessert. "Don't push your luck." Tiana had made a rule for herself after the dinner from hell. Avoid Leo Smith at all costs. Not because she disliked him, though he was clearly unhinged, but because working for someone while also being the center of their family scandal was a recipe for disaster. She had bills to pay. Rent didn't care if you were part of a billionaire soap opera. But avoiding Leo turned out to be like trying to avoid glitter. Once it's in your life, it's everywhere. Day 1 of avoidance. Tiana was dusting the library ladder when Leo appeared in the doorway holding 2 mugs of coffee. "Hey," he said casually. "I made too much." She frowned. "You made coffee?" "Well, technically I told the machine to make coffee. But it counts." Tiana climbed down the ladder. "Thanks, but I'm good." "Come on," he said, holding it out like a peace offering. "It's not poisoned. Unless you hate vanilla caramel." She narrowed her eyes. "I'm more of a black coffee person." "That's intimidating," Leo admitted, setting the extra mug on the table anyway before leaving. Tiana waited until he was gone, and then drank it. Day 3 of avoidance. Tiana was vacuuming the upstairs hallway when the vacuum cord suddenly lifted off the ground. She turned to find Leo holding it out of the way like a butler. "You were about to run it over," he explained. "I do this for a living, you know," she said. "I know," he replied, leaning on the wall. "I was just helping." Tiana sighed. "You really don't have hobbies, do you?" "I do," he said. "Annoying you is one of them." Day 5 of avoidance. She was reorganizing the pantry when Leo walked in carrying a cardboard box. "What's that?" she asked. "Records," he said. "You like music?" "Yes," she said cautiously. He opened the box to reveal stacks of vinyl albums. Everything from the Beatles to obscure jazz artists she'd never heard of. "I was going to listen in the sunroom. "Want to join?" "I have shelves to finish," she said, turning back to the cans. "Okay," he said, already walking away. "But the good snacks are in there too." 10 minutes later, she was in the sunroom eating pretzels while Leo played Billie Holiday. Day 7 of avoidance. Tiana was mopping the marble foyer when she realized she could hear someone whistling behind her. She turned to see Leo leaning on the banister above, looking down at her. "What?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. "Just wondering why the mop gets more of your attention than I do." "Because the mop doesn't try to marry me without warning." He grinned. "Yet." She rolled her eyes. The truth was, Leo wasn't what she expected from a man who lived in a house with its own ballroom. He didn't brag. He didn't flaunt his money. Half the time, he seemed just as baffled by his own family's world as she was. One rainy afternoon, she found him in the garage trying to fix a bike tire. "Let me guess," she said. "You bought that for the aesthetic?" "No," he said. "I bought it to ride. It just hasn't left the garage yet." She took the wrench from him. "You're hopeless." "Probably," he agreed. "But I'm a good listener." And somehow, without meaning to, Tiana started telling him things. About growing up in a small apartment with 2 brothers, about working 3 jobs after her mom got sick, about how she used to paint but hadn't picked up a brush in years. Leo didn't try to fix anything. He just listened. "Why me?" she asked one evening, when the rain outside had slowed to a soft patter. "Because," he said, "you're the only person in this house who treats me like a person instead of a prize." Tiana looked away. "That's not a reason to marry someone." "No," he admitted. "But it's a good reason to know them better." She didn't answer. But she also didn't leave. It started with a handwritten note in Tiana's cleaning caddy. "Dinner. Tonight. 7 p.m., Veronica Smith." "No, please." "No, thank you." Just an instruction, like she was being summoned to a royal tribunal. Tiana almost didn't go. She considered it all afternoon while she cleaned the guest bathrooms. But then she thought, fine. If she wants to judge me, I might as well give her a good show. At 6:59, she knocked on the dining room doors. They swung open to reveal Veronica in a navy silk gown, dripping with understated diamonds, her hair in a perfect updo. Charles Smith stood beside her in a tailored suit, holding a tumbler of something amber. "Tiana," Veronica said smoothly, like she was greeting an applicant for a job she'd already decided not to give. "Come in." Tiana stepped inside. The table was set for 4, the candles flickering, the silverware arranged with military precision. There were more forks than she'd seen in her entire apartment. Take a seat, Veronica said, gesturing toward a chair across from her. Leo was already there, grinning like a man watching his favorite reality show. Tiana Saturday, wow. Fancy. I feel like I should have brought a resume. Veronica's smile didn't reach her eyes. We just thought it would be civilized to get to know you better. Leo raised his glass. Translation. They want to interrogate you. Leo, Charles said warningly. The first course was served, a tiny salad arranged like modern art. Tiana picked up the nearest fork. That's the entree fork, Veronica said. Tiana looked at it. It works for stabbing lettuce, right? A flicker, just a flicker, of amusement crossed Charles's face. They ate in relative silence for a moment, until Charles asked, So, Tiana, tell us, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Tiana shrugged. Alive, hopefully. With a fridge full of groceries I didn't have to budget for. Maybe a dog. Leo grinned. Max would approve. Veronica sipped her wine. And do you often dine in this manner? If by this manner, you mean at a table with more than one fork? No. I'm more of a pasta from a pot person. Veronica's expression was neutral, but her eyes betrayed a hint of shock. Interesting. The main course arrived, seared salmon with asparagus. Tiana tasted it and let out an involuntary mem. Good. Leo asked. Good. Tiana said. If I made this, I'd post it on Instagram and pretend I was a chef. Then retire. Charles chuckled under his breath. Veronica shot him a look. Dessert was creme brulee, served with the ceremonial tap of the caramel shell. Tiana cracked hers with satisfaction. So, Tiana, Veronica said, leaning forward, you understand that being part of this family comes with responsibilities, appearances to maintain, certain expectations. Tiana met her gaze evenly. Mrs. Smith, I clean toilets for a living. You think I care if people see me wearing the wrong dress or using the wrong fork? There was a beat of silence. Then Charles burst out laughing. She's got you there, Veronica. Veronica's lips twitched. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was dangerously close. Perhaps she does. When the evening ended, Tiana walked out with Leo. You did great, he said. I think your dad likes me, she replied. Your mom. I'm still on the fence. Leo smirked. You're growing on her. Tiana shook her head. I think I'm just confusing her. And honestly, I'm fine with that. It happened on a Tuesday, not a romantic Friday night or a dramatic Sunday sunset, just a plain old Tuesday. Tiana was outside in the garden, sweeping leaves off the stone path. The Smith Gardens looked like something out of a lifestyle magazine. Manicured hedges, fountains shaped like mythical creatures, and a koi pond where the fish looked fancier than most people's pets. She was halfway through muttering about how nature is just glitter that never stops falling, when Leo appeared behind her. You always talk to yourself when you sweep, he asked. Only when someone makes me sweep 3 acres of driveway. He grinned and leaned against the stone wall. Come for a walk with me. Tiana narrowed her eyes. That sounds suspicious. It's not suspicious, he said. It's strategic. She set the broom aside and followed him to a bench under an old oak tree. The branches swayed overhead, scattering light and shadow over the grass. Leo sat, then turned toward her. I know I messed up the first time I brought this up. You mean when you announced to a room full of rich people that you were marrying me? She said, arching an eyebrow. Yeah, that. He winced. Not my smoothest moment. Tiana crossed her arms. Not even in your top 10. He laughed softly, then grew serious. But I meant it. Not the sudden proposal part. I meant choosing you. You make me feel like me, not the guy on the Forbes list. And I want more of that. I want more of you. Tiana stared at him, searching for the joke. But there wasn't one. You're serious, she said. Dead serious, he replied. And this time I'm asking properly. Will you go out with me? She hesitated, mostly to make him sweat. Fine, she said at last. But only if I get to pick the place. And no private jets. Deal. 6 months later. The Smith estate was buzzing. Not with rich daughter additions this time, but with wedding preparations. Tiana had tried to talk Leo into a courthouse wedding, but he'd insisted on something bigger. Not Veronica big, he'd promised. Just normal big. Normal big apparently meant a guest list of 200, a string quartet, and a cake taller than Max the golden retriever. Max wore a tiny bow tie for the occasion. The ceremony was held in the garden, under the same oak tree where Leo had asked her out. Tiana wore a simple ivory dress. Leo looked ridiculously happy in his tailored suit. Veronica sat in the front row, dabbing at her eyes. Charles leaned over to her and whispered, "You like her now, don't you?" Veronica sniffed. "I respect her." When the vows were done and the kiss sealed it, Max barked loudly, causing half the guests to laugh. At the reception, Kylie had tried to crash the wedding for content, but had been intercepted by the security team, who had apparently been briefed on her Instagram handle. Tiana danced with Leo to an old Billie Holiday song. Later, she made the rounds with a plate of dessert, somehow managing to get powdered sugar on her dress. Leo didn't care. "You know," Tiana said between bites of cake, "if someone had told me a year ago that I'd marry a billionaire, I would have laughed in their face. And if someone told me I'd marry my housekeeper, I would have." He paused. "Actually, I would have laughed too." She smirked. "Guess we're both bad at predicting our lives." "Guess so," he said, kissing her again. And somewhere near the edge of the dance floor, Max the dog sat happily with a piece of cake on his plate, as if he too approved of the match. That Tuesday in the garden, neither of them could have guessed that a broom, a vacuum, and a very bad matchmaking plan would lead to this. But here they were, a millionaire and a housekeeper, proving that sometimes the best love stories start in the broom closet, and maybe end on the dance floor. We have come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.